speaker on the panel this afternoon, and this is a person who doesn't really need any introduction at all. He's been with the party for a long, long time. He is in fact the deputy leader of UKIP. He is the MEP for the North West, and he was the party's youngest ever chairman, and when he first was elected, he was UKIP's youngest ever MP. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please introduce to you Poole Nuttall.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
I've been tasked by the party with going around the country and speaking at events as far north as Blythe last week and now down here in Poole. And the one thing which really strikes me is the quality of UKIP candidates. And I must say, I think Richard, Martin and David gave fantastic presentations there, and I think they would be excellent MPs if they were elected on May the 7th. We are a party that's on the move. We're a party that's doing well in the opinion polls. Our membership is now at 43,000. We have more members than the Liberal Democrats. The party is growing day by day. Yesterday, UKIP has changed immeasurably over the past 6 or 7 years. It's gone from being what many would consider to be a single-issue pressure group, which talked primarily about the European Union, to being a fully fledged political party with a raft of policies in all areas. Again, we have done excellently as well in European elections, finishing third in the European elections of 2004, second in the European elections of 2009, and indeed going on and winning those European elections last year. We created political history. We became the first party since 1906 that has gone on and won a national election in this country that wasn't Labour or the Conservatives. But it doesn't stop there. We know if we want to remove ourselves from the clutches of the European Union, it can only be done from the House of Commons. And that is why we are fighting hard in every single seat in this country to ensure that we get people elected. And we are connecting with people up and down the country, whether it's in the north, whether it's in the south, whether it's a middle class area or a working class area, whether it's red or whether it's blue. We are connecting because we are speaking the language of the people. Common sense. Take, for example, where we stand on immigration. We have common sense policies. It cannot be right, ladies and gentlemen, that last year alone we allowed 624,000 people to come to this country. That is a city the size of Aberdeen and Liverpool put together. The net figure was 298,000 people. Indeed, over 40% of all jobs created in this country last year went to migrants. And what we're saying is that it makes no sense, ladies and gentlemen, to be allowing so many people to come to the country when you have 850,000 of your own young people who are unemployed. And what we're saying in the UK is the way you solve this problem is simple. You look at Australia, you have a points-based system which says if you've got the skills that this country needs, yes, please come here and work, but we should have the right to control not just the quantity, but the quality of people who come to this country. It is common sense, ladies and gentlemen. We need to have the right to control our own borders. Common sense on the National Health Service, 3 billion extra put in, but we want to ensure that that money goes to the frontline services, to doctors, to nurses, to midwives, not to managers and bureaucrats and pen pushers. And they say, where will you get this money from? UKIP, you're just plucking figures from out of the air. Well, we say it is fully costed. and saving £9 billion. The fact is that even if we make those cuts to the foreign aid budget, we will still be giving more money in foreign aid than Italy and Spain put together. We are handing away at the moment £32 million every single day in foreign aid. Now we in UKIP do not have hearts of stone. We believe foreign aid should be given to countries that need it, where there's been an Ebola crisis, where there are starving children in Africa. But we don't think we should be giving foreign aid to countries like China, which is projected to be the largest economy on the planet by 2050. We shouldn't be giving foreign aid to Brazil, which is overtaking us in the League of Economic Powers. We shouldn't be giving foreign aid to Argentina, which say rattles over the Falklands. We shouldn't be giving foreign aid to India, which has more millionaires and billionaires than ourselves, which has its own nuclear program, its own space program, and sent a rocket to Mars last year. The simple fact is, it cannot be right that we're handing over this £32 million a day when 1 million of our own people last year had to go to food banks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's common sense to say charity begins at home. On defence, common sense, we want to ensure that we are maintaining our commitment that we have given to NATO, that 2% of GDP is spent on defence, because it is the duty of any government to protect its own citizens. But at the same time, we are the anti-war party. We were opposed to the war in Iraq from the start. We were opposed to intervention in Libya because we said, if you remove an evil secular dictator, which Gaddafi was, what will come next is chaos and radical Islam, which I put it to you, is even more dangerous than Colonel Gaddafi. Indeed, you look at the humanitarian crisis in Libya at the moment, where people are leaving in their droves to get to Europe. You just look at the problems that Sicily now has as a result. You have the government of Libya that now has to meet on a boat. It's so dangerous. That's why we were opposed to involving ourselves in Syria, because we were asking the question, who are these rebels that you want to arm? Well, it turns out they were the Al-Nusra Front, they were Al-Qaeda, they were ISIS, and if Haig and Cameron would have got their way, then ISIS would now be killing people using British weapons that we had given them. And what we're saying in UKIP is simply this. This is a problem for the Middle East to sort out. It is a problem for Turkey, with one of the largest land armies on the planet. It is a problem for Saudi Arabia, which has one of the largest air forces in the world, and indeed imported more weapons last year than any other country on the planet. What we're saying is, yes, we should provide logistical help, financial help if needed, but we don't want to see British boots on the ground. We do not want to see another drop of British soldiers' blood spilt in the Middle East. We will only engage in wars that are in the British national interest. When devolution happened, Scotland got its own parliament, Wales got its own assembly, Northern Ireland have Stormont, the English got nothing. And it cannot be right that in Scotland they have free tuition fees, they don't pay, down here we do. They have free prescriptions, down here we pay. They have free hospital car parking, down here we pay. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that it cannot be right that in Scotland they get £1,400 more per head spent on them by our Treasury. We need to rip up the Barner formula, and we need equality for England. And the first way of doing that is by ensuring in the House of Commons we have English votes for English laws. again. It cannot be right, ladies and gentlemen, that the top 5 schools in Britain send more kids to Oxbridge than the bottom 2,000 put together. It cannot be right that there were more working class kids at Oxbridge in the 1960s than there is now. Social mobility has stagnated. If you're poor, you end up in the St Comprehensive School. You end up very often trapped in your community, unable to get out. And we in UKIP say that is wrong. We want to see a return to social mobility. We want to give working class kids the same opportunity as middle class kids, and the only way you're going to do that is by a return to some form of academic selection, and that is why UKIP is committed to putting a grammar school in every single town in this country. Of course, I'm going to quickly finish on the European Union, because after all, that is why UKIP was formed back in 1993. Now, I put it to you that it cannot be right that we fought 2 wars in the last century to protect British democracy, British sovereignty and British freedom, for 70% of our laws now to be made in a foreign country, in secret, by foreign unelected commissioners. What the politicians, ladies and gentlemen, of the last century, and indeed the beginning of this century, have done is they have handed something away that was never theirs to give. They gave British sovereignty away, and we in UKIP are committed to taking that sovereignty back. And we in UKIP want a referendum, but we don't want a referendum in 2017, because by then we would have handed over another £50 billion to this corrupt organisation that hasn't had its account signed off for 19 years on the bounce. What we're saying in UKIP is that you have waited since 1975 for a say on this. If you're under 58, you've never had the opportunity to vote on our membership of this club. And what you voted for in 75 was trade. You didn't vote for an EU flag. You didn't vote for an EU anthem. You didn't vote for an EU army. You didn't vote for £55 million a day to be handed over to this organisation. You didn't vote for 70% of our laws now to be made in Brussels. You voted for trade, and what we're saying is we don't want to wait till 2017. We want a referendum, but we want a referendum before December the 31st this year. From leaving this organisation. Indeed, the first thing UKIP would do is we would reignite our links with another organisation who we turned our back on in the 1970s. It's an organisation that covers a quarter of the world's landmass, a quarter of the world's peoples, 20% of global trade. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing UKIP would do is we would reignite our links with our brothers and our sisters in the Commonwealth of Nations. The days of two-party politics of the last century are over. This is the 21st century. This is multi-party politics, and it's thanks to you why this is happening. To those of you who are members of UKIP, I say this: get on board. Join the fastest growing political movement in Britain. Join the People's Army, which is on the march. Help change not just politics in this country, but society for the better. We are the People's Army. We aren't going to stop. We will change things for the better, and we've got the establishment on the run. Thank you very much.